Hello, everyone. I am Julianne Meyer. You are watching Own Your Wellness, and I got to tell you, we're finally having this episode. This has been a long time coming. You have no idea how many times I've had to reschedule, and it's always been my fault. Let me just be straightforward and transparent. But our guest today is amazing, and she's been very patient and very kind, and I'm very excited to have her here today. So let's just bring her on and get the conversation going. Megan Barnhart, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, Julianne. It's a joy.
It is, and I'm so glad that you're here. And thank you again for your patience. As you know, there was a ton of stuff going on in my life, and so we are here finally. So
that's how it always is, right? Life just keeps throwing the stuff at us, and it's our job to figure out, how am I going to roll with this? How am I going to be with this? How am I going to ask for the adjustments I need instead of, I loved how you are in that, right? Like, instead of being in the stress, like, just because we have something on the calendar, when life throws you all those curveballs, why not stop and go, is there any way we can adjust? Because that's wellness, right? that's like the beginning of wellness. I love that.
You know, that's a really good point too. That is the beginning of wellness, asking for what you need and giving yourself the space and the grace that the situation requires and asks of you. Because I was definitely the kind of person that would just power through and, just because it's on the calendar.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing how we let that little, wherever you store it, on paper or electronic, that little thing boss us around, and it starts seeming like it's totally rigid. And I appreciate so much when people just say exactly where they are and what's going on for them. Like, as a big connector, I don't want a friend of mine to feel obligated to hang out because we put it on the calendar, but then she's stressed or her baby's ill or whatever it is. Like, I want people to just tell me, hey, this is what's going on for me. What can we do to adapt? And I'm like, perfect. Now we can both feel really like the situation is for us instead of it is, forcing us.
Exactly. Well, that reminds me of the 4th of July, because my husband and I had decided we were going to go watch the fireworks up in Newport, and super excited about it. And we were out shopping during the day. As I told you, we were at Crate and Barrel doing, post-wedding shopping. And we came home and we decided we were going to take a nap. And when he woke up, he said, "Would you be okay if we just didn't go?" And I said, "Yeah." And then, of course, my FOMO kicks in, and I'm thinking, but it's the 4th of July. We should fill in the blank. And it turned out we just stayed at home and had a nice quiet night, and it was great. And why are we forcing ourselves to celebrate if we don't really want to go out and do all the normal things that everybody else is doing? It doesn't have to look the same.
Yeah. And so asking that question, what is working for me? And it's right now in this moment, because even earlier in the day, maybe it did seem like that was going to be fabulous fun. But that check-in is so powerful. And I'll admit, I forget to do it. But when I stop and go, oh, what do I really feel like would serve me right now? And I've been paying attention to that more and more lately, just around mealtime. And like, am I feeling full? Let me pause. Let me, I have ice cream in the freezer and it really sounds delicious, but I'm actually full. And that's where I get fear of missing out. Right? It's like, I want to enjoy all the summer things. But just doing that check-in, what's really true for me right now? And what's my body asking for? What's my mind asking for? What's my spirit asking for? It's like game changer. I'm sure that's something you know up, down, and sideways and do with your your audience and your clients.
Well, yes and no. I mean, that's where I have to show myself some grace. I definitely, especially when it comes to food, there's this idea of, I have to eat this, or emotional eating, where I'm feeling a certain way, and this would alleviate some of my feelings of uncomfortability or sadness, even momentarily. And I feel this compulsion to fill myself. So yeah, but I'm aware of it now, whereas opposed to the fact that I wasn't for years and years. And there's a huge difference, because now even if I do choose to say eat the ice cream, or for me it's cheese, if I do decide to do that,
yeah,
I do it with my eyes wide open, and I am fully aware of the choice that I'm making versus just doing it.
yeah. Well, even that is it, like, it kind of its own check-in in a weird way, where you're like, right now I need to totally indulge in a way that's gonna not really like seem wise to somebody else from the outside. Like, I'm checking in, and right now I need to indulge.
Exactly.
That's what's happening right now. And then, like, you were saying, the grace and just going like, okay, I did that. You know, that happens with me. Like, I'll go to bed late and feel crap in the morning, and then I'll go to bed late again and feel crap. I'm like, okay, I have a lot of great data now. I can really see that if I go to sleep after, 10 o'clock, I really don't feel good the next day. But instead of being in that place of guilt and shame around it, it's like, oh, interesting data point.
Yeah, exactly. That just makes it worse. You're just perpetuating this cycle, and then it's so much harder to make a healthier choice because you're already in a cycle of making not so healthy choices for yourself. It's easier to keep going on the path you're on than it is to jump over onto the other one. So
I feel like it's rare that we ever make a change from a place of feeling disempowered or disheartened or beating ourselves up. We tend to make change, whether it's in health or career or relationships, or, in the work I do with helping people like with their writing and marketing. We're not likely to make a change when we're having internal talk that's, oh, I failed again. I did this thing. I made the same mistake. How come I haven't learned this yet? I guess I'm just rubbish at whatever it is. That's not where change comes from.
No, not good change anyway.
Yeah.
That's when maybe my waist will expand because I've decided to eat my feelings again.
Right? Yeah. We can keep going down we can dig ourselves deeper into the rut, but it's unlikely we're gonna move out
make
of it.
that healthy choice, that good choice. I was talking with somebody the other day, and we were talking about how most people make choices from the place of trying to deal with being uncomfortable or avoiding being uncomfortable versus choosing something for joy, and how big of a difference there is in that. And I thought that that was really fascinating because it made me think about how often I do that on a regular basis. I didn't like that realization.
Yeah.
It was very, very uncomfortable for me to realize how often I will say turn on a TV show versus go do something else that I actually really want to do, because there's an element of uncertainty in this other thing that makes me feel slightly uncomfortable, whereas it's safe for me to sit on my couch.
Yes. It gives us back the the comfort feedback loop.
Yes.
I love this question. So one of my nieces just turned 14, and being a parent of a teen in this day and age, there's so many electronics and things like this. So I asked her parents about it. I was like, how do you handle this? And they had the coolest answer. They said, well, when the phone first came into the house, we asked this question: hey, we don't want to nag you, but we know there are going to be times where you're going to be on electronics and it's not the right time. What can we say that will like help but not be nagging? My niece is so wise. She's like, she thought about it. She goes, ask me, is this really what I want? And my mind was blown. And they said it works, kind of 90% of the time, where, this is happening and it's, hey, is this what you want to be doing right now? And she'll think about it. And 90% of the time will be like, no, I got a little bit stuck. And, the other 10% of the time, it's like, yes, this is a really fascinating YouTube show I'm watching, or texting my friend, whatever it is. But that self check-in, or, somebody helping you with a check-in to go, is this really what I want? Oh my gosh, I want that in my life. Like I need the people to
Yeah.
follow me around to go, is that really what you want to be scrolling
Mhm.
social media for an hour? No.
Exactly. Yeah, and that is actually extremely wise beyond her years, as
Right?
you're very well aware. I did something similar because, and I'm 45, so it makes me feel like, why didn't you get this sooner? But I've lost a lot of people that prematurely, let's just say prematurely, they were in their 40s, 50s. The latest one was only 60, and or younger. So just before people are expected to actually pass away. And so I've always had like a little bit of survivor's guilt in some respects, because why am I still alive? And I've made such horrible choices in the past, and they passed away and they didn't make those same choices. So why, that's what got me on thinking about that. And then whenever I start to watch too much TV or play a video game and get stuck in that loop, I sit there and I say to myself, at the end of my life, am I going to be so glad that I watched the season finale of blah, 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 or I
Yeah.
beat this level? Is that really what's going to be satisfying to me?
Oh, that's fabulous. So I think you'll really love this. I have this game that I play, and it's called Time Machine. And I use it for a lot of different things. I'll even use it if I'm like I need to do a task and it seems hard or challenging or intimidating. And I'll play Time Machine while I'll say, okay, me of the future didn't do this and I missed this opportunity. Or like I had to fix a bigger mistake later, let's say, right? Like I didn't fix it, or I didn't take action now, and it just kind of spiraled or snowballed. So whatever it is, I'll imagine that and go, I'm the one who was sent back in time to do this now. And it's a fun little silly game, but it's a total mindset reframe where instead of, so I'm basically saying to myself, my choices are to take action now or to have regret in the future, either because something became a bigger problem or I missed the opportunity. Like, okay, let me choose action. And it pushes me out of feeling that like, oh, it's not going to be comfortable, because I'm in the mindset of, well, it's going to be a lot more uncomfortable later if this gets worse or if I miss that great opportunity. So and then also thinking about life is short, and, being at the end of life and going, oh my goodness, I wish I would have done this, to imagine that that version of you sent you back in time and said, go, now you have the chance. Now's your time. I find that just a really tickling way to. I'm really big on gamifying things. I'm all about the more play, the more productivity. The more fun I can make something, the more inviting I can make it, the more I'll do it. And so that just, that tickles me. I don't know if you want to play Time Machine.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, because as you were speaking, the word that kept popping into my mind was gamify, gamify, gamify. So, and then you literally said it. So, life can be very serious, and why not make it as lighthearted as possible? Because there's so many things that happen that are not necessarily fun in the normal, enjoyable sense. So why not gamify it? Why not make it as enjoyable as possible? If you're still going to do it anyway, you can do it begrudgingly, or you can have some fun with it.
And what I find in the space of writing, when I'm working with writing clients, is that the more fun we make it, the more their creativity actually comes forward. So it's this double benefit where, one, it's fun, so you're more likely to do it. And a lot of the clients I work with are working on writing a book, or they're working on marketing content. So that's things you really want to get done. You don't want to put it off, right? Because it has great benefits when you do it. But also when they step from the shoulds, which, we started talking about, into that space of joy, as you were saying, and fun, all of a sudden these ideas that weren't there before just start popping. And it really is, I think, play and joy, I really think, is the secret to unlocking your greatest creative genius.
It really is. I keep thinking about that saying that you can't solve a problem from the same thinking that got you there. It's the same idea. If you are stuck on focusing on the negative, how do you expect to see or find anything good and positive? How do you expect to be creative? I mean, you are being creative in a more negative way.
Yes.
Less open, more the tunnel vision kind of a situation.
Well, and from a physiological perspective, when we go into the should and the stress, our fight flight response kicks in. And from an evolutionary point of view, that literally gave us tunnel vision, because if I'm going to run away from the tiger, I just need to see straight ahead. I need to block out everything else. I don't want to be distracted by, there are some berries over there. I'm like, get away from the tiger. So we literally narrow our thinking, our sense of possibility. And then the only thing we can see is that same path we've been on. And if that's the path of stress, then we're just going farther down it. And boy, that's not a fun ride.
Definitely not a fun ride. So, you know, you've mentioned clients and writing. I would love for you to share a little bit about what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, I'm an intuitive writing coach. And really what I help people do is figure out, uncover the personal process that for them unlocks writing flow. So I am so fascinated how all of our brains are wired differently. There's a lot of focus right now on neurodivergence. There are conversations happening that, you know, haven't been happening in the past. I find that really exciting. There's an acknowledgement that everybody's brain is different, and there are all these different ways to learn, to take in information, to express ourselves. So when I work with clients, I'm helping them write the thing, whatever that is, a book or a book proposal or marketing content. But I'm also helping them figure out what is the process that they can use that suits them, that unlocks that joy and creativity, and that is repeatable. Because it's fabulous when you feel inspiration. You know, I think we've all had that. The idea comes and you go, wow, this is amazing. And you start creating. But how do I get that? Right. And so like, I'm sitting in the same spot. I'm wearing my lucky socks. How do I turn on that inspiration? And there are systematic steps that you can take, but it's a matter of finding what those are for you that turn it on. And that's my joy, because I believe I believe writing is everybody's birthright. You don't have to write if it doesn't light you up, but you deserve to be able to share your story, to communicate your message, you know, to share your bold ideas. And for most people, there hasn't been instruction or guidance or even a realization about their unique process, and that there's a way that works for them, as opposed to, back again to this theme of our conversation, the should.
Yes.
This is how you should be doing it.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that is definitely, yes, because we're just sort of, I'm not a writer, or I'm not an artist, or I'm not a fill in the blank. And without realizing that maybe that won't ever be your number one strong suit, but that doesn't mean you're not good at it.
I actually just had a client tell me, oh, I thought I wasn't a writer, and I forget who it was in her life who writes, it's her husband who writes novels. So she kept looking at his process of writing novels and going, well, I don't do that. Well, you don't need to do that. You're not writing science fiction novels. You don't need to build the characters and the setting and all this kind of thing. And it was unconscious. And so it wasn't until our conversation where it was like, oh, this is how I arrived at that belief. I'm not a writer. So we're bringing things that are, and this is common to all coaching, right? We're bringing things that we unconsciously have accepted into the conscious mind, so we can look at them and go, is that really true? Do I really want to believe that? Is that supporting me? And that's such a joyous moment when somebody is willing to set down, I'm not a writer, and realize, oh, I don't write the way that person does, but I write the way I do.
Exactly. No, I love that. On that note, it is time for us to go to a commercial. So we're going to be back in just a minute. And for those of you who are watching us live, thank you so much for being here. As I mentioned, it's time for a commercial, so we do have to go to that. But when we come back, we're going to talk about unlocking creativity and in your writing, especially since we have an expert with us. We'll be right back in just a minute.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Gotta love that live TV. I'm just sitting there watching. Oh, wait, that's me. All right, let's bring our guest Megan back onto the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, great to be here.
Goodness. So silly. Anyway, so before we went to commercial break, I was mentioning that we were going to talk about this idea of, creativity in writing and how we can maybe get those juices flowing. And I know that you created something really amazing. So I'd love to start off with talking about that, how it came about, what it is, and just as an idea for people. And those of you who are watching, I actually have it's amazing. So anyway, without further ado, I'd love for you to share.
I love the suspense. This is so great. It could be anything.
It could be anything.
I created an Oracle deck specifically around writing. It's called the Wise Writer Within Oracle deck. My signature program for writers is Wise Writer Within, because it's all about connecting you to your intuition. And this deck came about in a couple of different ways. So one is that a lot of it is the statements, the powerful statements that I've been using with clients for years. A lot of the work I do as a writing coach is around reframing situations. So, this dark thought, or, like, I'm not a writer. And what if we reframe it as, nobody has ever taught me how to be a writer. And now is my opportunity to figure out how I write. And the difference in those two thoughts, I'm not a writer, versus I am right at the beginning of figuring out how I write, and what an exciting place to be. And so I included a lot of these really powerful statements in the cards. The other inspiration is from my own spiritual practice, meditation, tapping into especially a lot of feminine energies, statements that came through me, that were just channeled. I was like, I don't know. I don't feel like I wrote that. It came through me. So the cards are intended to, as you said, help spark creativity, but also to help diminish and really break through writing blocks. because there's so much baggage. Unfortunately, we all carry around creativity, whether it's the statement of identity of I'm not a writer, I can't write, or I'm bad at writing, or I'm not writing the right way. Why am I so slow? Why is this hard for me? And then even in the cards, I tackle some of these conceptions around writing and creativity. Like I have a card that's the goddess of lonely writers. And it takes this image that probably we all kind of have in mind of the lonely writer sitting at the typewriter with, no friend but the bottle of whiskey, or, in
a candle.
In any creative field, it's like I have to suffer for my art. And while I will say that there's been a lot of beautiful art that has come from people's deep suffering because they've transmuted it, suffering is not a requirement for creating. And more suffering doesn't mean better art. It's actually more self-awareness and more transformation of what you've gone through that creates better art, in my opinion. So it's a playful way as well to just change some of these paradigms we have. There's another card that's the goddess of perfectionism. Like what does perfect really mean? And the way I define it, and the channeled message that goes with the card is something is perfect when it's completing its intended task, or whatever it is. So if I'm writing and I'm not showing it to anybody because I'm just trying to make it perfect, well, it's not doing its job of communicating. And it's perfect when it's perfected, when it is just doing its intended task. And so the pressure is off for it to be without mistakes. And instead the invitation is, well, how can this fulfill your purpose?
And I love that, because I just keep on thinking about this idea of perfectionism. And even when somebody's speaking with me and they'll say the wrong word or something and they'll apologize, and I almost always say, well, I knew exactly what you meant, and so you communicated well enough. You got your message across, so no need to apologize.
Yeah, unless we're sending rockets into space in brain surgery. There's so much leeway. And especially I find I actually have a card, Mercury, who most people will know as like the Roman god of communication. He's the messenger god, but his message is about there are no mistakes. And those things that we say that we didn't mean to, or those typos, have some, as you said, space and grace around them. And maybe there's even an idea below the surface. There's something else coming through. Oh, I said that on accident because I was thinking of this, which reminds me I wanted to write about that, or I wanted to call that person. So what if instead of going, oh, I've made a mistake, it's, oh, that's an interesting mistake. I wonder where that came from. Why am I thinking about that?
Yeah, exactly. Why does it have to be bad? I think too about when I was little and how my parents divorced when I was really young. So my dad and my stepmom have literally been married for 40 years. We got married on their 40th wedding anniversary. So on June 25th. So they've been married over 40 years now. But so my parents lived in two separate areas, and well, in the same town, but two separate houses, obviously. And so my dad and my stepmom went to go buy this house in this other town, and it was perfect. It was like the dream. And I was so excited about this place. I mean, gorgeous, you name it. It was perfect. And for whatever reason, it just did not work out. And there was no real reason why it shouldn't have, but it just didn't. And it did. And I was devastated by this. I remember crying my eyes out, being completely forlorn that this was not happening. And then my mom passed away maybe 6 months or a year later.
Wow.
And I was never so glad as I was that they didn't get that house, because I would have had to have moved. Not only would have I lost my mom, I would have lost my school, my friends, my everything that was familiar to me would have been gone. So it wasn't, it wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah. And that brings to mind for me this really powerful question. How is this happening for me instead of to me?
Yes.
Right. Which is a question that we're encouraged to ask all the time. And it can be, we need to leave space around things. It's not in the moment of grief. It's not when things are in that intensity.
Yeah.
But like with the house falling through, like the time to grieve and like, this is really sad and I really wanted that. And then being with it and letting things settle and go, okay, is there a way this is happening for me? And at the time, of course, you wouldn't have known about your mom, but like, oh, I get to stay at my school. I get to be close to my friends. And that right there is storytelling. And it is the most basic kind of storytelling because it is the stories that we tell internally. And it's honestly the reason I'm so passionate about writing and writing coaching, and why I wanted this, deck to support people is, let's think more about the stories that we tell and how they are helping us be the hero of our journey instead of the second banana in somebody else's story, like, oh, I guess I'm just going along and doing this, or even the victim. Right? How am I? Because a hero is somebody who faces adversity, who gathers strength from within and says, I'm going to keep going. That's ultimately what every hero story has in common. I'm going to keep going. Wow. Yeah. That was really intense. That really sucked. That really threw me, down for the count. I had to rest and recoup, but I choose to keep going. And that choosing to keep going is, think about what that means. It means we are seeing ourselves as agents of choice, that we think change is possible, that we think there's something better on the other side of whatever we're going through. Because otherwise we'd have to be mad to keep going. If we thought it was all going to be terrible, we'd be better off sitting and watching Netflix and scrolling Facebook. But the decision to keep going is really this, I am casting myself in the role of the hero who has agency and possibility of something better.
I love that idea too. For those people out there that are watching that are thinking, I'm not a writer, everyone's a storyteller. The difference is, are you actually writing those stories down? Are you, there's so many. I think that, as you mentioned before, a lot of people have this idea of what it looks like you said, the bottle of whiskey, suffering and all of these things. And I don't write like my husband who writes a novel. I don't write like that. So I'm not a writer. Whereas it's like, maybe I am. Or what would you consider? I guess my question in all of this is, what would you suggest to somebody who wants to maybe dabble in this arena? And because I know for me, whenever I start anything creative and artistic, there's this voice that says, this sucks, I'm crappy, I can't do this, all the negative things that pop up. It's not even true, but it feels true when I'm in it. Yeah. So what would you suggest to somebody who maybe wants to see where it leads?
Yeah. I would say make it extremely low stakes. So we wouldn't say, okay, well, I'd like to learn to play the piano. I'm going to go get booked at Carnegie Hall in a couple months, right? We would start by playing scales. We would listen to a lot of music. We would go, ooh, I like that. We would play. We would just, look at the different sounds. And start building those core skills, and probably only playing for ourselves at first. Then we might invite people we really trust into our house and say, hey, will you listen to this? I'm just learning to play. I just want to practice somebody else hearing me. We'd start slow. We'd start with low stakes. So starting with journaling prompts, the Wise Writer with an Oracle deck, for every card, there's a writing prompt. And the invitation is just play, practice, see what comes out, and use a process called free writing, where you don't plan what you're going to say. So there's no need to know what you're writing, and you don't erase, you don't judge, you simply allow whatever thoughts want to come out. And you might start with a prompt and they might go in a completely different direction. Beautiful. There's no wrong way to do it. And it really opens up. I always talk about free writing, turning on the taps. Imagine you moved into like a really cool old Victorian building in San Francisco. And you turn on the taps, and at first the water is brown. It's gross. There's all the rust that, all the gunk has been collecting in the pipes. So if you turn it off at that moment, you go like, oh, this water's gross. I don't want that. All the gunk's going to stay. If you let the tap stay open and the water keeps running, eventually it will run clear. So starting with free writing, it might start out feeling very awkward. And you go, this is awful. Nothing's coming out. Allow it to keep going. And you're just building, same like building, muscle strength with the piano. You're building your creative muscles. So I'd say start low stakes, start with journaling. And, just even starting your week with a notebook and a pen asking, what are my priorities this week? And not doing a bullet point list of all the stuff you need to get done, but just actually writing out, or what am I really excited about this week? Or what am I really anxious about this week? That's a powerful question to ask. And you just be in conversation with yourself and allow whatever comes out to come out. You don't have to share it with anybody, but that's my biggest recommendation is start writing just for yourself so that you build that, that flow, let the water run.
Exactly. Oh, that's a very good visual. And that's how it feels. I know, I went to art school in Italy, and, it sounds so fancy. It really wasn't, but it was fun. And, anytime I would draw or paint something or create something, it was always that brown tap water in the beginning. I don't know why I expected the ending to look like the ending when I was just starting. I think there's this unrealistic expectation, and, we can be our own worst critics too.
Yeah.
But what I think I'm hearing you say too is that, and I'd love to reiterate this, is this idea of using this tool to help you with your creativity. That doesn't mean it stops at writing. These ideas start to flow. You don't know how that opportunity that can come from that idea, you don't know where it's all going to lead because you haven't tapped into it.
Yeah. And it's just unlocking it. And even if you're writing something that's more on the practical end, right? Like a great question would be, what's my dream? Like, what would be amazing if it happened this week? And maybe you write something down that doesn't seem possible. You're like, oh, what if, I got to be on Oprah, or whatever it is, whatever that big dream is. But what that's going to do is open up your sense of possibility. And then maybe you start doing some brainstorming. Okay, well, maybe Oprah's not going to call me this week, but I saw this course on how to get PR and pitch yourself. Maybe it's time for me to sign up for that, right? Because I'm really feeling that my desire is I want to have that greater visibility, or I want to buy like a tight black cocktail dress and look amazing in it. Okay, well, that might not happen this week, but maybe that brings front and center to you, wow, I'm really ready to prioritize feeling good in my body. I'm really ready to care for my physical self. Yes. And then you start, taking action from that. So you're tapping into like, what do I want from a sense of possibility? And if you're just writing it on the page, it's
powerful too.
Yeah.
It is powerful.
Yeah. It's letting you explore. It's giving you that space, and nobody else is going to read it, but it's just giving you that space to ask, what do I really want?
Yes, exactly. And from a place of joy versus the avoidance of something, which we were just talking about. I love that. All right. Yeah. So we do have to go to one more commercial break. We'll be back in just a minute. And I said hello to everybody who's watching us live. Now it's my turn to say hello to everybody who's watching us on demand. We do have to go to a commercial. When we come back, we're going to discuss how this can actually help you with your wellness. We're going to dive deep. I mean, Megan sort of started to tap into that, but we're going to dig deep. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's bring Megan back to the show. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So before we went to commercial break, you started to touch on this idea of wellness in writing. And I'd love to just dig a little bit deeper into that because, well, this is a wellness show, but also I really want people to change their perception of writing and have it be less about what they have in their mind and just open it up. So I would love for you to expand on that and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Do you find for the wellness space that mindset is like the most important thing?
100%.
Yeah.
That's why the tagline of the show is there's more to health and wellness than broccoli and burpees, because if this isn't right, it does not matter what you do. You will not get the results that you are expecting or that you want or that you work so hard for. So yes, I would say 100%.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's right there. I mean, writing is a lot about mindset. I kind of think everything is a lot about mindset, right? You know, any skill I'm learning is really two skills. It's technically how do I do the thing, right? Like, what do I do if I want to get more fit and build strength and meet my goals? But also, how do I come at that from a place of possibility as opposed to defeatism? How do I deal with setbacks and disappointment? What should I expect even? You know, a lot of people, I think all of us start something and we just naturally assume it's going to be this kind of straight line up of getting better at it. Really, it's, I have some success. Oh my gosh. And then I have a setback and then I hurt my ankle and I stop working out and all these back and forth, or I get bad news or I get stressed. And I just have, like we were talking about earlier, one of those days where I'm like, I just need to sit on the couch, eat this ice cream, and watch a whole season of Love is Blind. Like, this is where I am right now. So writing, if you like, let's take away writing or the definition of writing, let's change it. So it doesn't have to be something that's published. It doesn't have to be something even anybody else reads. But if I think of writing first and foremost as my internal storytelling, it is right along there with wellness, where I go, okay, how am I showing up? What are the thoughts that I'm having? Are they supportive? How can I change the story? And it's really, it starts to get really fun and it starts to get a lot easier to change your story if you bring in creativity. And, you know, think about if you were, for 4th of July, I was hanging out with, my family and my 2 younger nieces who were 3 and 5, and we were telling stories and having so much fun. And, you know, just that feeling of telling a little kid a story. You know, we're going through the jungle and there's a castle and a dragon and all this stuff. You get to be as creative as you want. So you get to be that storyteller for yourself as well, where you go, oh, well, what if in my wellness journey, you know, I'm going to use this skill I have and I'm really good at organizing and I'm going to bring that in, and you do some brainstorming, you know, bringing your creativity in to ask, how can I be successful is a game changer. And I would say that's writing. You're rewriting your own story, and you're also using skills like brainstorming or reflecting to help with your success. Is that making sense?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I was actually thinking about something somebody said to me just yesterday, and she was talking about intentions and setting intentions, and how, you know, it's all fine and dandy to set an intention for, say, going into a meeting. But then the part that people tend to forget about is that going back and revisiting, did you actually stay on track with your intention or not? Yes. It's like, it's only half the battle. So I like this idea of, you know, even rewriting things, because it's all a story anyway. So why not make it fun and playful as much as possible?
And supportive. And so, and reflecting is a big part of that. Like you were saying, if we set the intention, but we don't follow up. So two things on that. One is, I always encourage my clients to create metrics for success that are completely under their control. Because if a client goes, okay, I'm going to have a launch, and a successful launch would look like this many people buy my thing and this many, well, you have zero control over that. And yes, I would love for that many people to buy your thing. But if that's where your success is based, you're going to end up disappointed because you're feeling out of control. So setting success metrics that are under your control. So in wellness, that might mean I'm going to show up this many days a week to the gym or to my yoga mat. Now, I might not feel great. I might not have a lot of energy on those days, and I might decide to do a shorter set, but I'm showing up. And so I control that success metric. I'm going to commit to drinking this much water. I'm going to so setting those metrics that are totally under your control and not the outcomes. You can't say, I'm going to lose 5 pounds as a success outcome that you can control. You can have it as a goal, but things might happen, you know, so for example, you get a cold, you know, and you just like, things get off track. So showing up with a certain attitude, saying certain affirmations or mantras, you know, getting back to a mindset, like, I'm going to, if I find myself getting into negative self-talk, this is what I'm going to do. So that's a huge thing. Set intentions and success metrics you can control. And the second thing I highly recommend is leave time for reflection. With my writing clients, I give them 4 magic questions, and they're super simple. And I think these apply for wellness as well. And you get to the end of the week, you take 10 minutes and you just write down, what were my wins? What were my challenges? What's working? And what do I want to try? And all of a sudden, instead of beating myself up, I'm just being a scientist. I'm looking at the data. I'm finding patterns. I'm like, oh, I see that every week my challenge was, I didn't work out on Friday. Is Friday a day where I'm just going to have a hard time committing? Like, maybe I need to change what day. So then I put under what I want to try. I'm going to change my schedule, you know, or I'm going to change what's So those, and that's writing in support of your wellness, because you're giving yourself the time to go, okay, what's really going on, not from a place of judgment. And then how do I think it can be more successful based on what I'm seeing?
I love that. And I'm going to throw mine in there, because this is one that I do. There's certain things that if I do them in the morning, then my whole day is basically not how I intend it to be. And I never would have noticed that if I hadn't written about it, if I hadn't studied it, if I hadn't, you know, looked at those metrics and realized, every time I choose to do this, I'd never do what I say I'm going to do that day. So if I don't do that one little thing, then I actually do what I say I'm going to do. And so, let me see here. How can I adjust this?
That's amazing, because it makes it so simple. And that's the power of writing, journaling, reflecting. Even sometimes I'll get to the end of the week and I'll do my reflections. I'll just talk into my phone. You know, sometimes I like to sit down on my hammock and not be at my desk. So it's like, I'll talk it into my phone. You're still writing, even if it's not typing or using a pencil, right? You're processing your thoughts.
See, I think that that's a distinction that got buried. It is. It just looks different. It's kind of like doing a food journal where you write everything down versus taking a picture of everything you eat. It's the same idea. It's just a different, it looks different. So,
and it's what will best serve people. And if it's just the mechanics of typing or writing that's keeping you from doing it, talk it out.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we only have about 3 minutes left. So, are there any thoughts that you'd love to share with the audience that maybe you haven't shared before, or a point that you'd love to reiterate?
Yeah. Writing is for everybody. And you certainly don't have to, share your thoughts in the world if that's not, what lights you up. But what I find with most people is that once they feel free to have the conversation with themselves, they're eager to start sharing their insights with other people. So again, maybe it's not in writing, maybe somebody starts a podcast to get those ideas out, or, just does videos on social media. But I believe everybody's story is really important for all of us to learn. Like, there's so much wisdom when you read somebody else's journey and you go, oh, wow, I've had similar moments and I never would have thought to do that. There's so much support. There's so much healing. So I would just strongly encourage anybody who's had that little niggling feeling of maybe I want to share my story to pursue it. And it could be as low pressure as being a guest on a podcast and share your story. But if you feel called, please share it, because there's so much we all have to learn from one another.
I love that. I keep on thinking about how this is all energy, and it's just how the energy is expressed. So I love that very much. I think that that is such a beautiful, beautiful way to put it. I just wanted to pop this up one more time for everybody to take a look and see what you are offering. I have this, you guys, and it's absolutely amazing. And it's fun. It gamifies this idea of writing. And for somebody like me who maybe wants to make it more of a thing in my life, having a prompt and having this idea, okay, I am going to spend and make this fun, makes it so much easier. So I love that. I think that that's kind of a fun way to look at it.
Yeah, it's my goal to just support people and feel like there's an easy way to start, because that's one of the main challenges with writing. What do I write? And I'm sitting and facing a blank page. So just pull a card, get the prompt, write the prompt at the top of the page. The page isn't blank anymore. And then just go from there.
You just start.
Yeah. And know that there's no wrong way to do it.
There isn't. Well, Megan, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you being here and having patience and grace with me as well. It has been an amazing time with you. So thank you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's been just a delight.
Yay. Well, everyone, that is all the time that we have for today. I just want to say thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your week. We will be back again soon. Bye for now.